Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So in this video I'll be showing you how to create a registration form or a form with the help of Python in Tkinter. Okay, so basically we can create the login form, registration forms, these kind of forms with the help of HTML, CSS and JavaScript. But with the help of Python, can you create the registration form or a login form? Yes, the answer is yes for that. So I'll show you how to create that. So for that, we will be using the property of Tkinter, that is message box, with the help of which there would be a box in which, like, suppose the box would be like this, and inside this there would be labels, that is like name, email address, and then there would be, I'll be adding a button which will be like register, wherein like when people click on this particular register after entering the name and email address, it will give up a pop-up which is like registration successful. Okay, so these things you can also do with the help of Python apart from HTML, CSS and JavaScript. So let's get started. Okay, so first of all I will import the Tkinter library from Python. So import as tk, and after this I will take the property that is message box from the Tkinter library. So from this I'll import message box. Okay, once this is done, first of all we need to work on the function, that means the logic behind the registration form, right? So for that, what we can do, I'll just create a function that is def, let's say register, because we are trying to create a registration form. Fine, so this is my function, and inside the function I'll write message box dot show info. So show info is used for showing any kind of information which you want to show it in your Tkinter app. So this particular show info I'm using to tell Python that this the app name is like registration form, or like, you know, something like registration successful, something like this. Okay, whatever message you want, when you click the button, that message you can put it inside this particular message box dot show info, inside this function which is register. Okay, so here what I can do is I can write, let's say registration, and I'll give a comma, and then over here I'll write registration successful. Okay, so this comes inside whenever you click the register button, this particular function will get provoked. Okay, now this part is done. Now what we have to do is I'll write root. Okay, and here I'll write tk dot tk. Fine, and then I'll give some title to it, to my app, that is the Tkinter app. I'll give some title. So let's say the title is root dot title, and user registration form. Okay, this is the title of my Tkinter app. Fine, and let's say I want my app to be, you know, like dimension I want to give it to my app, so I'll give it root dot geometry. You can use the feature geometry for giving up the dimension for your app in which your registration form will come. So I'll write root dot geometry, and inside this, let's say I take it as 400 cross 300. Okay, now here if you see what happens, there is only a function which won't work unless and until you give directions for it to work, and then I'm working on the root of the Tkinter app. Okay, I have given a title to it and I have decided the geometry, that means the dimension of that particular app. Now if I just try to run this particular, okay, and see like how it is running, so I'll just write root dot main loop in order to run this. So I'll write root dot main loop and this. Okay, let me save this and then let's try to run it from here. So I'll write Python and then path.py. So here when I write it, okay, yeah, so this should be small k. So let's save it again and write Python path.py. Okay, so let's now fix these things off, that is the, the dimension and things. Fine, so after doing this, what we can do, let's say I want to add some background color to it. Okay, so I'll write add background color. Okay, that means for where inside my app I want some background color. Okay, so let's say I keep it as white, so I'll write root dot configure. Okay, and here I'll write, let's say bg for background color, and inside bg I'll write it as I want to keep it as white, so I'll take f0 f0 f0. So this will keep this as white. Okay, let's move this and paste it over here. Now let's see it, how it looks like. So here I'm adding hash, and the reason why it was not working earlier, the star, so this will replace it by, so that it takes it as a dimension like x cross y. Right, so now pad.py, and when I run it, now if you see, this is the title, that is user registration form, and the background is white right now. It has nothing, the form is not here because we haven't added any code for the form, so it is just a dimension that is 400 cross 300 and the background is this. Okay, so this is how the apps look like now. Okay, next what we have to do is, next we have to go for the formation of the registration form, right? Right, the registration form, and here what we can do, we can now create the label. That means suppose you want the name and the email address, those things you can create it over here. So let's say I take a variable register underscore frame. Okay, and inside this I'll write tk dot frame. Okay, fine, and here I'll write root comma, and I want some background to it, so let's say the background is the magenta color. Okay, and I want to give some padding, so let's say I give, so you can use paddy for giving the padding. Okay, now when I run this particular loop, what will happen over here, this particular register underscore frame is a variable which is creating a frame inside my application for the registration form, and right now the background would be this which I have selected and its padding would be 10. Okay, so I'll save this again, and when I try to run it again, okay, so this looks something like this. Fine, let's now change this off and let's see the effect after this. Okay, now here, in order to see the changes of the register frame, so what we can write, register underscore frame dot pack. That means now the changes will be saved over here. Dot pack means now whatever thing I have done in the variable register frame, that will be inside this, and this will show it in your application. Okay, I run it. Now after this, what we can do is we can go ahead and write the label, fine, for the registration form. So here I'll write register frame or register label rather, and I'll write tk dot label, and inside the label I'll take the variable that is register frame, and then I'll give some text. Okay, so the text is, let's say, registration form. Okay, and I'll also give the font to this particular registration form. So I'll give some font that is okay, and you can also mention the font size over here. And then I want to give some background to it. So let's say I take it as okay. Now this part is done. Now next what we have to do is we have to pack this off. So for that, what we write, we will write register label and then dot pack, and you can also mention the padding if you want. So I'll write padding 10. Okay, now let's see how this looks. So basically this registration form, how actually the app will look like now. So when you run the Tkinter app, so the app will come like this. You will have the user registration form heading written at the top right over here, and then there will be a frame created. Okay, fine, with the help of this frame, and inside it the registration form will be written at the top right over here. Okay, so now when I will run this particular code, so here if you see, this is the magenta color I have taken. So basically the registration form will be coming in the form of a label. Okay, so registration form label will be coming, and at the back the background will be given as magenta color. Okay, so let me save this again and I'll run it and show you how it looks right now. So Python py, and now if you see, the form looks like this. The form registration form label I have put it. Okay, and the background color, if you see, it's in the form of magenta, and then user registration form, the heading is written at the top. Okay, now let's go ahead and create the labels for the other part. Okay, that is putting on the name and email address for the registration form. So for that, what we can do is we can create the name label. So I'll write name underscore label, and here you can write tk dot label. Okay, and inside this we can just first of all call the register frame, and inside the frame what we want to do, we want to give text as, let's say, name. Okay, and then some background to it, so I'll keep it as white, so I'll take it as BG. Okay, now here what will happen when we save this and run it, up below registration form the name label will also come up. Okay, so so now if you see, okay, let's check back again. Okay, we haven't packed this off, the name label. So here we will write name dot label dot pack. Okay, and let's say I give the padding as 5. Fine, save it, run it. Okay, now if you see, it has the registration form written, and then underneath the name is written over here. That means there is another label created, name. Okay, now next what we have to do is, after the name is created, we have to go for the entry. That means like beside the name there should be a. So let's write the code for entry after the name. Okay, so for that let's take a variable as name underscore entry. Okay, and inside this you need to do the same. That means like we are creating a label, so tk label, and then get the registration frame, and here we can write, since it's a label, so we don't want any kind of text to it. Okay, I want it to be blank. So here what we can do, we can pack this off. So we can write name entry dot pack. Okay, and let's say I give the padding over here as 5. Okay, so now what will happen when we run this particular code, beside the name there will be a space wherein you can enter the name. Okay, so for that write. Okay, now if you can see, this is name and then there is a space here, so you can increase the size or increase the width of this particular wherein you can enter the name. Fine. So next over here, let's go ahead and quickly create another label, and that particular label will represent the email. Okay, so we have created for name like this one, same we have to create it for the email. So here we can go ahead and we can write, let's say, email label, and here this you can write as email. Okay, and then I can give some background to it. So let's see, I'll keep the background as white again. So fine, and then email label dot pack, and then some padding to it. Okay, so now let's check it. Okay, so there is an email created. Now again we want some entry for it. So for that we have to create it, like where you can enter the email. So here we can write another variable which is as email entry. So I'll write email entry. Okay, and I'll keep it as tk dot entry. Fine, and here we just have to take the registration frame, and then after this we have to write email entry dot pack, and then inside the pack again you can give some padding to it. Okay, once this is done, now we have to create the button like register, wherein you can click the button and then it will work, right? So for that let's take a variable that is register underscore button. Okay, and inside this we take as tk dot button. Okay, and here we can first of all call the register frame. Fine, and then we can give some text. Let's say this the text which will represent the button, so I'll write here as register. Okay, and here I'm giving the command. That means when this particular button is clicked, then there should be a pop-up message. So for that you can use the property of Tkinter, that is command. So command I can write here register. Okay, and then we can give some background color to it. So I'll write PG, and then let's say I take blue color. Okay, and then the foreground also, the color for it I'll keep it as white. Okay, so this is done for the registration button. Now I'll write registration button dot pack, Okay, and inside that I'll keep the body as 10. Fine. So now let's quickly go ahead and run this off. First of all, we'll change this so that the entry also come proper, like register and email. But we'll save this and then we run it. Okay, now if you see, the registration form is up, wherein you can enter the name, email, and then register. So here, let's say I enter the name as Farma, and then like the email address. Okay, and then when I click on register, a message will come up, a pop-up message that is registration successful. Okay, so this is how you can create a registration form with the help of Tkinter and Python.